All right, bring it in close because I have a confession to make. I'm not actually a millionaire yet. I don't have the Lambo, I don't have the private jet, definitely don't have hair implants yet. But right now, my plan is to get to $1 million in liquid cash by 2030. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to do it. But right now, in 2023, I'm what you would call a Henry. High earner, not rich yet. What's even worse is that my wealth has stalled out over the last year or two. Now, I don't want to downplay the privileged position that I'm in, but go back to January 2018, and I had exactly $3 to my name. And now I have substantially more. Now I'm going to show you how wealthy I am in a moment, as well as my plan to get to $1 million in liquid net worth over the next 7 years or sooner. The first reason this business and this whole channel exists is so that you could follow along with my journey as I build wealth myself, and hopefully you can learn some stuff as I learn them as well. The other reason why I co-founded DIY Wealth is because I wanted to help sort of dispel some of the myths and bad ideas that a lot of people, especially young people, have about wealth in this day and age. I'll get into all that, but you won't actually be able to follow along with my journey, and you won't be able to help me fight these myths and bad ideas unless you gently caress the subscribe button and maybe fondle the like button a little bit. A lot of what I see on YouTube or Instagram about how to get wealthy, what you need to be doing to build wealth, how to actually get richer, how to actually make more money. A lot of the richest people that I know don't actually do much of it. Like the vast majority of the wealthy people that I know did not get rich with stocks and bonds. In fact, the vast majority of them never even trade stocks. Now here's another thing about rich people that I've learned over the years. They are not hustlers. There's none of this rise and grind stuff. Most of them have pretty mundane jobs. And Lord knows they didn't get rich from starting up a bunch of side hustles. Another thing that I've learned about rich people is that they really don't try to control their spending that much. I mean, a little bit, but not that much. You know, there's the old adage that you're supposed to buy assets and buy liabilities, but believe me, rich people buy a ton of frickin' liabilities too. Another thing about rich people, they don't really avoid debt. They just know how to use it better. So if there are all these myths about building wealth, we have to ask ourselves, well, what do the rich people, the actually wealthy people, think about when it comes to wealth? I can tell you what poor people think about it, or at least people who grew up poor. Rollies, Lambos, private jets, multiple mansions, things like that. A lot of people have that perspective of wealth because that's kind of what's sold to you. Meaning those are not actually wealth. Those are the trappings of wealth. And those trappings are often sold to people as a way of making them aspire to something that they do not have. Honestly, one of the richest guys that I know has a net worth of over $10 million, and he drives a beat up Toyota. Another rich dude that I know, net worth of over $5 million, dude has one house, drives a pickup truck. I don't think I've ever seen him wear a suit. He's a sweater and sweatpants kind of guy. In fact, that makes me think of the richest guy that I know who actually has a net worth that I have heard is over $1 billion. He owns exactly one suit. And he actually hates stocks and bonds, like avoids them like the plague. So what is wealth according to the actually wealthy? Financial wealth to them is more about safety and abundance. Wealth for them is wanting something and then never really having to tell themselves no, unless they feel like it. Wealth for them is knowing that the things that they built and the people that they care about are taken care of and can actually flourish on their own as a result of the hard work that they did. The upshot to that is a realization that most people have, like, as they start getting wealthier. Like, let's be real, if you're struggling, just living paycheck to paycheck, you always have money on your mind. But there's a certain point where if you have like a stable family, people who love you, a job that you care about, income that you're happy with, and you want no more than that, you feel safe and secure in that, you're wealthy. End of story. Above a certain threshold, wealth is more about what's up here. Real talk, I grew up with a father who would make $350,000 one year and then blow it all by the next year and then make $100,000 and then blow it all. And so I grew up knowing what it was like to be rich and to be poor. Truth be told, I'd prefer to be rich. But more important than being rich, I don't want my wealth to be that lumpy. My personal goal, and this might be your goal too, is to have enough socked away in different assets and in different accounts that if any one of them were to blow up, I'd still be okay, my family would still be okay. And so I'm going to accomplish that by focusing on the three things that the rich actually think about when it comes to making money. Streams, siphons, and stores. Your wealth is something like a river, and you have tributaries or streams sort of like flowing into that river at various points to actually add to your money. That can be your income, but it could also be a variety of other income streams, as they're often called. You know, royalties, dividends, a bunch of things like that. Now, this river is flowing ineluctably towards the ocean where all of your money is going to get lost. And along the way, you also have, things and people and stuff that's diverting money away from your wealth river. These are called siphons. They are literally siphoning away your wealth. And in fact, it doesn't really matter how much income you actually earn if all of it is going to get siphoned away at the end anyway. That's where stores come in. Your stores are like reservoirs, places where you have diverted the flow of the river to fill up an area so that it's there for you for later. That can be a savings account, sure, but it could also be a number of other things. Precious metals, it could be investing, it could be a 401k, it could be your house. It could even be a coffee can buried under your bed. This mode of thinking about wealth was actually taught to me by a pretty rich dude. And once you start reducing wealth to these three things, well, it starts making a lot of things very clear to you. Like, for example, it doesn't matter how much money you have coming in if it's all getting siphoned away. So if you start making serious money and your expenses creep up with it, well, then you're not going to be making any money. Here's another thing too. I actually know a few people earning over $300,000 a year who live paycheck to paycheck. Like, they never figured out or never took the time to actually build these automatic carve-aways that will store some of the wealth that you have coming in. It's not just rich people too. I worked at a company that offered like the craziest employee matching for 401ks that I've ever seen. Literally, they were just forking over free money to employees. But the vast majority of employees that worked there just didn't make any contributions to their 401k, so they never got any of that free money. Long story short, if you start thinking about your money according to streams, siphons, and stores, you're actually going to start being able to build wealth. And speaking of streams, I promised you that I would show you where I'm at. And so, hey, Sean from the future here, and I just wanted to jump in to say that before we get into like talking about my wealth and exactly like how much I and my family have, I want you to understand that I'm not trying to do this to brag. I'm not trying to like rub your face in what I have and what other people don't have. I know that I'm in a very privileged position, and I'm sharing this stuff with you in the interest of being authentic and transparent. I really like struggled with whether I should even be sharing this stuff with you guys. And so I hope you understand that it's coming from a place of like wanting to be authentic and helpful. Anyway, I just wanted to clear the air there before we get into the actual numbers because like this stuff makes me nervous. Like sharing this stuff with you guys was hard. So I hope you understand that that's where I'm coming from. Anyway, back to the show. This is where I'm at. In terms of income, I pull in about $27,500 per month. Some of you are going to be flabbergasted by that, and some of you are going to be like, that's not that impressive. But I'm happy with the various income streams that I've set up over the years and the work that I do that actually will feed more money into the river of wealth that I'm trying to bolster. However, there's a problem. My average monthly income stream has actually dwindled over the last 2 years. Like if you look at my income, I peaked in 2020 and it's been downhill ever since. So my plan to build more wealth in 2023 is very simply to just double the amount of income that I make. And let's be real, doubling the amount of income that I make is not realistic, but I'm going to go for it. And so even if I end up falling far short of that, I'll be happy. I'm going to do it by focusing on three things. Growing my various businesses. I'm also going to put more effort into actually like doing things that improve the cash flow of my businesses, which up until this point, that's been lacking. To do that, I'm going to need to spend more time on various projects, and that's going to involve delegating away some of the stuff that I used to do myself a lot. There's a simple calculus to this that you can actually follow. When you're trying to decide what in your life that you would like to delegate, look at how much money on average you make per hour. Does the cost to delegate something cost less than the amount of money that you make in an hour? As in, would you make more just working that hour instead of like doing the thing that you could take off your plate? If that's the case, then just get rid of the stuff that's not worth your time. Like honestly, for me, that's grocery shopping. I would rather spend the money to have somebody go grocery shopping for me than ever step foot inside of a grocery store, for real. But it's other things too that I've piled onto my plate for too long. This year I'm going to be scraping some of those off. And the third thing that I'm going to do is do what made me a ton of money in 2020, which is actually writing advertising copy. That's where I've made most of my money. That and investing, like those two. Now I make my money writing about investing, so I guess those two income streams have like lumped together. But none of that extra income is going to make a difference if my spending keeps creeping up. And as you can see here, my spending has been out of control for years. Like, can you imagine spending $26,800 per month on average? I can. It doesn't feel good. Part of the problem is something that I've had to contend with, which is the difference between fixed expenses and variable expenses. Now, this was taught to me by a really smart dude, the CEO of Prox Capital named Adam Markley. Really smart guy. I like him a lot. But he sort of like set me straight on something because, you know, I was starting a business and he was giving me accounting insights on it. And he basically said to me this: Sean, you are focusing on fixed costs. Your fixed costs are easy to deal with because you know what they are and you can prepare for them. The things that are gonna you are your variable costs. Now, in your life, variable costs are things like, oh, your roof caving in, your steam boiler failing, rats infesting your home, having to buy a bigger car because you just had a second kid and you don't have room in your original sedan anymore. Those are all things that have happened to me over the last year and a half. That's why it's important to have an emergency fund. So my plan to build wealth in 2023 2023 and beyond is simply to try to put a cap on expenses, especially my variable expenses. Like, look for things that could potentially be problems in the future and then try to take care of them as quickly as possible. I'm also going to try to put a cap on my fixed spending. Like, for example, I didn't need to spend $7,000 on this shirt. I mean, I saw it in a store called Dan Flash's and the patterns were so complicated, so it made sense that it would cost that much. And so I'm going to reduce spending by not going by Dan Flash's anymore. Another thing that I'm going to be doing is reducing my high interest debt. Yeah, I have a mortgage, but I'm not too worried about it right now. My mortgage is actually less than what I was paying in rent before I got a house. But what I did do is actually take out a loan to consolidate a bunch of debt under one loan. And my plan for 2023 is to pay that off aggressively. If you have debt, credit card debt, any sort of debt, student debt, whatever, look at the debt that has the highest interest rate. Pay it off as quickly as possible. And that brings me to stores of wealth. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I'm not a millionaire yet, but in terms of assets, I have about $438,000. Now, you might be thinking, I thought you were far from a million. Well, the truth is that net worth, the amount of assets a person has, is a terrible measure of a person's wealth. Like, for example, you can have a lot of debt and not be struggling financially. Like the vast majority of homeowners in America, if you have a mortgage, you're probably going to have a negative net worth. Now, are those people less wealthy because on paper and net worth, they don't have very much? Also, when it comes to assets, people aren't going to use all their assets, and like not all their assets are even usable. Like, for example, if you retire and your wealth is mostly locked up in your house, you're going to have a hard time utilizing all of that equity. Also, there are people that buy things that they call assets that they never intend to sell. And so there's a whole bunch of wealth locked up in those that you will never be able to actually utilize. That's why net worth is a really misleading barometer for anything resembling a retirement goal. Because in retirement, you need money that you can just access. Like, it's just there and that you just pull it from the bank and then use it. A better measure of financial wealth, in my opinion, is your liquid net wealth. That is how much money you have available to invest or invested every single week. Your affluence value doesn't include your debt, it doesn't include your income, it doesn't include any of your assets that you don't plan to sell. Your affluence value is just the sum of all the assets that you have liquid at your disposal. Your affluence value is basically all the money that you would be able to get your hands on like in a week if push comes to shove. That means your affluence value doesn't include your retirement accounts either. Not your 401k, not your IRA, none of it. Like, the only part of your 401k that you should actually consider as part of your affluence value is the amount that you can take out as a loan against your 401k. And so what is my affluence value? It is $13,800. Only about $986,000 to go towards my goal, I guess. Well, I can tell you what I'm going to do first, which is I'm going to shore up my start over again fund or emergency fund or whatever you want to call it. I want to get that to $50,000 this year in 2023. That for me is priority one. Just having a store of either easily convertible securities or cash that is just there in case anything goes tits up. In terms of actual opportunities to invest, I'm gonna play it pretty safe this year. I'm not interested in real estate because mortgage rates are crazy and most of the opportunities are far away. I think there will probably be some real estate opportunities worth looking into in like 2024, but I'm just not there yet. And so if I see a new private equity or private investment that seems worth making, I'll take a loan from my 401k to pay for that, but I doubt that it's going to happen. Another thing that I'm doing for 2023, and there's really just a narrow window of time that I'm going to be doing this, is buying precious metals, mainly gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. I have another video you can watch about why I'm doing that this year, but my goal is to get about 1,000 ounces of silver sort of stock. But really, I don't plan on putting any more than about 3 to 5% of my affluence value into gold and silver. Another thing that I'm going to do to build up my affluence value that might surprise you is that I'm not going to be selling a single stock. I'm only going to be buying stock. You don't have to buy those to build wealth. I didn't want to record this as a how-to because everyone is different and everybody has different perspectives and insights and things that they want. But regardless of what you want and the amount of wealth that you want to build in your life, if you focus on your streams, your siphons, and your stores, you're going to be fine. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And if you thought, oh, I would like to become more financially literate, I want to learn more about investing in detail, well, then check out my newsletter, The Legacy Wealth Monthly. You can click the link in the description box below. With the concept of becoming richer every month, Legacy Wealth Monthly is packed with information necessary for asset building through investment, and includes recommendations of individual stocks and commentary on current market conditions. Legacy Wealth Monthly also features a column from Mark Ford, a multimillionaire who built his fortune from an ordinary salary to 5 billion yen in just a few years. You'll also find editorial by a Japanese analyst and a Q&A corner to answer your investment questions. We provide you with lots of information, all with the goal to enrich your life. If you are interested, please check out the details in the description box below. Take care.